My wedding was supposed to be the happiest day of my life. Instead, it became the day my father destroyed two families with a microphone, a single sentence, and a secret that should have stayed buried forever. And the worst part. For months afterward, I kept replaying one question in my head: what if I had never invited him? My name is Thomas. I'm 29 years old, and 3 months ago, I stood in front of 200 guests, waiting for my father to finish what I thought was going to be a heartfelt wedding toast. Instead, he looked directly at my mother and calmly said, "Why don't you tell everyone how you spent 2 years sleeping with the bride's father?" That sentence shattered everything. But to understand how my life got destroyed in less than 10 seconds, you need to understand my family first. I grew up in Richmond, Virginia. My parents, Ray and Stephanie, had me young. Dad worked in construction before eventually opening his own small contracting company. Mom worked as a receptionist at a dental office. We weren't rich, we weren't poor either, we were just normal. At least that's what I believed when I was little. We lived in a small 2-story house on a quiet street. My younger brother Liam was born when I was 2. He was loud, fearless, and always getting into trouble. I was quieter. I stayed in my room reading comic books or playing video games. From the outside, our family looked fine. Dad coached Little League. Mom volunteered at school events. We took yearly beach vacations. We had Christmas cards, family photos, birthday parties. Everything looked perfect. But inside our house, things felt cold. My parents barely touched each other. They rarely laughed together. Dinner conversations felt forced, and some nights they'd stop talking completely. I remember being 8 years old and hearing whisper arguments through my bedroom wall. Never screaming, never throwing things, just sharp whispers filled with hatred. "That's not what happened, you always lie. I gave up everything for this family. Stop acting like the victim." Then silence. That silence always felt worse. When I turned 13, I started noticing my dad staying later at work. My mom started drinking wine every night, then 2 glasses, then 3. They moved like strangers sharing a house. My brother noticed it too. One night he asked me, "Do you think Mom and Dad hate each other?" I didn't know how to answer, so I lied. No, but I already knew the truth. When I was 17, my parents divorced. Dad moved out within a week. Mom cried for months. Dad acted relieved. Liam became angry, and I became the middleman. Worst role ever. Mom would tell me, "Tell your father he still owes money for your school expenses." Dad would say, "Tell your mother I'm not her personal ATM." I hated both of them for putting me in that position. By college, I kept my distance. I loved them, but I didn't trust either of them emotionally. Then I met Brooke, and everything changed. She walked into my life during grad school like sunlight breaking through storm clouds. We met at a terrible trivia night. Her team was losing. Mine was losing worse. We started trash talking each other, then ended up joining teams, still lost, but afterward we stayed talking until the bar closed. She was funny, smart, beautiful, and brutally honest. Our first date lasted 6 hours. By our third date, I knew I was in trouble. By our 6th date, I knew I loved her. Brooke came from what looked like a perfect family. Her parents, Keith and Danielle, had been married over 30 years. Her father was wealthy. Her mother was warm and kind. Her younger sister Paige was chaotic but lovable. Family dinners at their house felt like scenes from movies. Laughter, warm food, inside jokes, real affection. The first time I saw Keith hug Danielle in the kitchen while she cooked dinner, I froze. Because I realized I had never seen my own parents show affection like that, not once. I remember Brooke noticing my expression. "You okay?" "Yeah." "You look sad." I forced a smile. "Just realizing your family is weirdly functional." She laughed. "Trust me, we're not perfect." I believed her. Every family has problems. I just didn't realize how catastrophic theirs were. After 3 years together, I proposed. She said yes before I even finished speaking. We cried, her family cried, even Paige cried while recording the whole thing. Wedding planning started immediately. That's when my anxiety began. My parents, both divorced, both bitter, both capable of making events uncomfortable. Brooke asked me one night, "Do you want both of them there?" I stared at her. "I do." "Then invite them." "You sure?" She smiled softly. "They're your parents." That decision changed everything. I met my dad for lunch first. He listened quietly, then nodded. "I'll behave. You promise?" "Yes." Then he added, "For you." That should have comforted me. Instead, something about the way he said it felt strange. Then I met my mother. She seemed nervous, but agreed instantly. "Of course I'll be there. You and Dad can be civil." She hesitated. Yes, that hesitation should have scared me, but I ignored it because I wanted one normal day, just one. Wedding day arrived, everything felt magical. The vineyard venue looked unreal. Perfect weather, perfect decorations, perfect music. Brooke looked breathtaking. When she walked down the aisle, I completely lost it. Full tears, ugly crying, guests laughed lovingly. Even Brooke laughed through her tears. The ceremony was perfect. The reception started perfectly too. My parents avoided each other. Brooke's parents seemed happy. Everything felt safe. Then the speeches started. Connor, my best friend, went first. Hilarious, perfect. Then Paige gave an emotional speech. Everyone cried. Then something unexpected happened. My father stood up. He wasn't supposed to speak. He walked toward the microphone. I remember feeling confused, then slightly nervous, but I thought maybe he just wanted to say something sweet. He tapped the microphone, smiled, and began. At first, I want to say how proud I am of my son. Everyone smiled. He talked about my childhood, our fishing trips, how proud he was. Then his tone changed. His face hardened. And my stomach dropped instantly. He slowly turned toward my mother, then said, "But since we're all celebrating honesty tonight," the room became silent. Then he looked directly at my mother and said, "Why don't you tell everyone how you spent 2 years sleeping with the bride's father?" Silence, absolute silence. Then chaos. Brooke looked at her father. Keith looked guilty, very guilty. Her mother slowly turned toward him. "What is he talking about?" Keith said nothing. That silence answered everything. Danielle stood up, grabbed her wine, and threw it directly into Keith's face. "You disgusting bastard," she stormed out crying. Paige screamed. Brooke froze. My mother looked like she might pass out, and my father, he calmly placed the microphone down and walked out. Like a man finishing a business meeting, I stood there unable to breathe. Brooke turned toward me, her voice shook. "Did you know?" That question destroyed me. "No," I whispered. "I swear." She stared at me, then looked away, and that hurt worse than anything, because for a moment she didn't believe me, and honestly, I understood why. The reception ended instantly. Guests awkwardly left. Some stared, some whispered, some pretended not to notice. It was humiliating. Connor helped us leave through a back exit. We got to our hotel. Our wedding night suite felt like a funeral home. Brooke locked herself in the bathroom. I sat on the bed in silence, still wearing my tuxedo, still trying to understand what happened. Then she came out. Her eyes were red. She looked broken and said, "Call your mother. Tonight." "Yes," I called. She answered immediately, like she'd been waiting. I asked one question. "Is it true?" Silence. Then she whispered, "I can explain." That was all I needed to hear. I hung up. Brooke collapsed into tears, and I realized our marriage had begun inside a nightmare. The next morning, I went to confront my mother, and what she told me made everything even worse. The morning after my wedding felt like waking up after a car crash. Everything hurt. My head pounded. My chest felt tight, and every time I closed my eyes, I saw my father holding that microphone. I saw my mother's terrified face. I saw my new wife looking at me like I might be lying to her. That part hurt the most. Brooke and I barely spoke that morning. We sat in the hotel room eating untouched room service breakfast while silence swallowed us whole. The pancakes got cold. The coffee got colder. Neither of us cared. Finally, Brooke looked at me. Her eyes were swollen from crying. "You need to find out everything." I nodded. "I know, no more half-truths. I know." She stared at me. "If anyone lies to me again, I'm done." That sentence hit me like a punch to the throat because I knew she wasn't threatening me. She was protecting herself, and honestly, she had every right to. I drove straight to my mother's house. She opened the door wearing pajamas. She looked 20 years older than she had the day before. Her makeup was gone. Her eyes were bloodshot. She looked completely broken. Good, because I was broken too. "Thomas, tell me everything." She stepped aside silently. We sat at her kitchen table. The same kitchen table where she used to help me with homework. The same table where she told me my parents were divorcing. Now it was where she would explain how she helped destroy my wedding. She cried before she even started talking. "It started 5 years ago." I felt sick instantly. She explained that she met Keith at a charity event. They recognized each other from family dinners. Started talking, started texting, then meeting privately. Then the affair began. It lasted nearly 2 years. 2 years. I stared at her in disbelief. "You watched me fall in love with Brooke," she cried harder. "Yes, you met her family. Yes, you smiled at Danielle. Yes, you sat across from Keith at family dinners knowing what you were doing." She covered her face. "I know." I slammed my fist on the table. "You knew this could destroy everything," she screamed back through tears. "I know." Silence. Then she told me something worse. Keith ended the affair 6 months before the wedding. not because of guilt, because he got scared. He didn't want the truth exposed. He wanted things buried. That made me hate him even more. Then I asked the question that haunted me. How did Dad find out? Her face changed. Shame, pure shame. We argued 3 months ago, and I accidentally admitted Keith treated me better than your father ever did. I stared at her. She continued. Your father kept pushing, and eventually I told him. And he waited. She nodded. He promised he wouldn't tell anyone. That made my blood boil. My father planned this for months. He waited for my wedding day. He wanted maximum destruction. I left before I said something unforgivable. When I got home, Brooke was waiting. She looked terrified. Well, I told her everything. Every detail. She listened silently, then whispered, I need to talk to my dad. She called him immediately. Speakerphone. Keith answered. Brooke, why? Silence. Why would you do this to Mom? He started crying, actually crying. I was lonely. Brooke laughed, but it sounded terrifying. Lonely, Brooke, you were lonely so you slept with my future husband's mother. He started rambling. She hung up, then threw her phone across the room, and completely broke down. I held her while she screamed into my chest. That night she whispered, I hate them. And honestly, I did too. 2 days later, Danielle filed for divorce. Fast, aggressive, efficient. Apparently Keith had hidden money. She found everything, every account, every property, every secret. Paige told us, Mom isn't crying anymore. She's in war mode. Good for her. Then I confronted my father. I asked him to meet me at a coffee shop. He arrived smiling like he didn't publicly ruin my life. I got straight to it. Why? He leaned back calmly. She deserved it. I nearly flipped the table. What about me? He shrugged. Collateral damage. That phrase changed something inside me. Collateral damage, you'll survive. I stared at him in disbelief. That was my wedding day. He rolled his eyes. You're being dramatic. That was it. I stood up. People stared. I didn't care. You are dead to me. For the first time in my life, my father looked shaken. I walked out, blocked his number, and didn't speak to him again for months. Meanwhile, Brooke and I struggled badly. Our marriage felt poisoned. We barely talked, barely touched each other. Everything reminded us of what happened. Then one night, my best friend Connor showed up with tacos and beer. He looked at us and said, you two are letting your parents ruin your marriage. We stayed quiet. He wasn't wrong. You didn't cheat. He pointed at Brooke. You didn't expose people at a wedding, then pointed at me. So why are you carrying their sins? That hit hard. After he left, I sat beside Brooke. I don't want this to destroy us. She started crying. I don't either. That night changed everything. We fought for our marriage, therapy, date nights, communication, boundaries, healing. Slowly things got better. Then my father sent me a handwritten letter, 3 pages. He apologized, a real apology. His therapist apparently asked him, was revenge worth losing your son? And he finally realized the answer was no. I ignored it for weeks. Then Brooke said something powerful. Forgiveness doesn't mean access. That changed my perspective. I called him. We started slow, very slow. Meanwhile, my mother entered therapy too. She genuinely changed. She apologized to Danielle privately. Danielle didn't forgive her, but she appreciated accountability. Keith, he lost almost everything. His marriage, his reputation, most of his assets. And his daughter's trust. Then 6 months later, Brooke and I finally took our delayed honeymoon. A quiet beach trip, no family, no chaos, just peace. And that's where everything changed forever. Brooke handed me something at breakfast, a pregnancy test, positive. I stared at it, then stared at her. You're serious? She laughed while crying. Yes, I picked her up and spun her around. For the first time since our wedding, pure happiness returned. Our daughter gave us a fresh start before she was even born. We rebuilt boundaries carefully. My mom earned limited trust. My dad earned supervised contact. Keith remained distant. Danielle became family, real family. Then our daughter was born, Elise, 7 pounds, 4 ounces, and lungs powerful enough to wake the dead. When I held her, everything changed. I realized family isn't blood, it's choices, it's accountability, it's protection, it's love. My father eventually met her. He cried holding her. My mother bakes for her constantly. Danielle spoils her endlessly. Keith is trying, but Brooke controls that relationship now, as she should. And me, I learned something brutal. The people who create you can also destroy you, but they do not get to define you. That power belongs to you alone. My wedding day was the worst day of my life. But strangely, it led me to the life I have now. A wife I adore, a daughter I'd die for, and a future built on truth. And if I ever renew my vows someday, there will be no microphones allowed.